Very short and sweet. What more could be said? Fantastic. You summed it all up. Here I am, I think the only female member of parliament in Edmonton. Isn't it time we had more? You know, I just saw the card for the gathering to get together to start pushing for proportional representation, which of course the Liberals promised to reform the election laws, that the last election would be the last election of first past the post, and they have broken that promise. What is one of the strongest reasons why we need proportional representation? Because when you have a proportional election, you get more women elected. Statistically, that's what happens. And so I encourage you to get out to that workshop if you can, or just talk to people about what proportional representation means, because we definitely need more women in the House of Commons. We need more women in the House of Commons that stand up for the exact agenda that you're calling for. You know, we don't want just women in the House, we want women in the House who will stand up and be feisty and demand our rights. There were some things, the Liberals are calling it a feminist budget, but we're deeply disappointed. And why? First and foremost, what we have is a revenue gap. Because again, the current government promised in the election that they would get rid of the CEO stock options, and they would go after all of those people who send their dollars overseas and don't go into our tax base. If we did that, we could afford pharmacare right now, and we could afford affordable childcare for every family in Canada. So it isn't just a case of, you know, some parties say, oh, NDP, they're a tax and spend. Somebody wrote a great letter to the editor yesterday, and I cut it out, because they said, isn't that what governments do? They tax you and then they spend it. But the priority is, what are we spending it on? And what we need to do is demand tax fairness, and so that all of the expenses aren't put upon the struggling families. Very hard to find affordable housing in Canada right now. We had hoped for expedited funding for affordable housing, and certainly to address homelessness. Unfortunately, most of the money is set for after the next election, and that's shameful. We had hoped for substantial dollars to create more childcare spaces, because that's what we need, is more quality, affordable childcare spaces. But what we also were hoping for is additional dollars to extend the inquiry into missing and murdered women and girls. And unfortunately, that's also not in the budget. The good news is, finally, the governor's responded to the 4 orders issued by the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, so that finally dollars are going to flow to our Indigenous communities, so that they have the kind of services to support them and support the families, so that children aren't taken away from the community. We need no more stolen children. I want to hear everybody say that. No more stolen children. Again, no more stolen children. And of course, we need way more services to support groups like the Mennonite Center here, and the support for migrant workers. I know that so many NGOs are just, you know, work to the extreme, trying to deliver to everybody in need. And I would hope that we get more support there. So thanks everybody for showing up and marching in the snow, and thank you to the organizers. And gosh darn it, it's great to see a diverse crowd. That's who we are in Edmonton, aren't we? Thanks.